Well, thanks for joining me for this edition of the Author's Corner, brought to you by KNEO 91.7 FM The Word. I'm Roberta Foster. Today I have the pleasure of talking with Nell Branum on Author's Corner, and she has written 2 books we're going to be talking about today. Keep 'Em Flying and Friends in Strange Places from the Heroes on the Homefront Mysteries series. It's published by Moody Publishers, and she'll tell you more about each of those books and how you can find out more about them towards the end of our program. Let me tell you a little bit about Nell. She is a former editor and elementary school librarian who is the daughter of both a World War II paratrooper and a Rosie the Riveter, and believes God still uses lessons from history. She was married for 43 amazing years to her minister husband, and now she writes from a small town near Birmingham, Alabama, and is with us today. Nell, thank you so much for being with us on Author's Corner.
Thanks, Roberta. It's a privilege to be here.
So these are fiction books that are written for kind of a middle grade age. Tell us more about why you decided to focus on that age group and exactly what ages you're talking about.
Right. Middle grade, which is roughly ages 8 to 12. And they're not true historical fiction stories because they're not actually set in the World War II era, but I like to call them contemporary mystery with roots in history. So they are rooted in, their stories are rooted in stories from the World War II home front. But the kids are from now. They're contemporary kids. So in book 1, we meet Riley, our main character, who is a 6th grader. And her great-grandma worked as a Rosie the Riveter building airplanes during World War II. So she wins an essay contest and, as a result, gets a trip with her kind of quirky Grandma Susie. And they make this trip to Kansas City to a World War II Heritage Days festival where she meets a new friend, Marcus, whose dad is curator at the museum, and also 2 pretty spunky Rosies who are in their 90s now and have some stories to tell. But then a crime occurs during the weekend, and Riley and Marcus know the police are focusing on the wrong person. So they're setting about to uncover who the real culprit is, which leads them on some adventures. That's book 1, Keep 'Em Flying. Okay. And then in book 2, if you want that one now too, Riley and her 5th grade brother Noah, Grandma Susie is back in book 2, and they set out on a kind of a shorter road trip to check out a dog that Grandma wants to adopt, and are surprised to find that the town they're visiting was once the site of a prisoner of war camp for German prisoners. That some people don't know, the Allies brought many hundreds of thousands of German, Italian, and Japanese prisoners to the U.S. for to be in POW camps that were built here. And one of those camps used to be in this fictitious town, but it's based on an actual town that had a camp for 6,000 prisoners here in my home state of Alabama. Wow. And so our story is fictitious, but based on that. And in their fictitious town, they're even more surprised to discover a reunion is happening that very weekend between 3 groups of people. Some former Army guards, veterans who guarded the camp back in the day, some former German prisoners of war, and the townspeople who live in the town. And that is also based on fact from this POW camp that was in Aliceville, Alabama. But that makes Riley a little bit nervous, and then some strange sabotage things start happening. So Riley and their new friend Hannah try to figure out who's sabotaging the reunion, because whether or not they get to adopt this dog they have found depends on if they can unmask the real crook.
Oh, a little intrigue going on there. A little bit. Yeah. Well, I like the fact that your mystery is healthy mystery, I guess. I'll call it that way. Something that where there aren't all the answers, but it takes a little effort to find out the truth. And I like I said, I just like the fact that it's nice, clean mystery.
It is that. A lot of times parents and kids struggle these days to find books that are, books you can count on. And so these are that kind of book.
Excellent. So what is your interest in World War II that you brought that out in both of your books?
Well, as you mentioned, I grew up with parents who were both involved in World War II. My dad was paratrooper. My mom was a Rosie. And I think history gives us a good sense of something bigger than ourselves. We can avoid repeating the mistakes of history, but we can also learn from the good things that happened in history. And I just happen to have had a good window into the World War II years, which has some pretty cool things to share. Shortly after 9/11 in 2001, I heard a Rosie the Riveter was interviewed by a newspaper and made the comment of how similar the crisis of that time was to the crisis that they faced in the 40s. And, uncertainty about the future, absence of peace, everyone pulling together. And it's kind of a time to turn to your faith, turn to God. And that has stuck with me since then. And so that's why I think I chose to write it from a contemporary point of view, looking back on things that happened during that time.
Excellent. I very much enjoy learning history from the novels that I read. I'm not so much big on the nonfiction history books, but I sure like it in my novels.
And the novels. Well, as I was growing up, I had a lot of role models in my fiction books. I had good role models in my life, too, but a lot of things stuck with me that different characters wanted to do or aspired to do, and so I thought I'd like to do that, too. So maybe this will provide that same kind of atmosphere for a new generation of kids.
Sounds great. So we're going to talk more with Nell Branum in just a moment regarding her books, Keep 'em Flying and Friends in Strange Places, from the Heroes on the Home Front Mysteries series, published by Moody Publishers. You're listening to Author's Corner, and I'm Roberta Foster. So, Nell, tell us how you have incorporated a Christian biblical worldview in your books.
Yeah. Well, for one thing, there is a scripture in each book that sort of follows throughout the book in Keep 'em Flying. That verse is Ephesians 6:10, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. And Riley encounters this verse, and also she is familiar with the we can do it saying, that Rosies are famous for a lot of the times. And that saying inspires a lot of internal courage in a lot of different people for different things, but it can be, a saying, we can do it. Well, she learns that if you include God in the we, then you can tap into God's power, which is more power than you could ever dream up for yourself. And that when you're facing situations in a crazy world, that it's great to be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. So that's one way. The scripture in book 2 is Ephesians 4:32. Didn't intend for them to all come from Ephesians in these first books that we have, but they did. Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other. Because we have such a beautifully multifaceted, diverse world, and sometimes that can be divisive in today's culture and society. So I kind of wanted to present it as an alternative to division, that we can be kind and compassionate to one another. We can forgive each other. We can move past our past. And I read in Zephaniah just this morning, we can stand shoulder to shoulder to serve the Lord. So that's kind of the thrust of book 2.
I love that you have very specific Christian teachings included in your books, so that whether these books are picked up by Christian families or non-Christian families, it's going to have an opportunity to reach all those that read the books, to reach them for Christ.
Well, that's my hope and my prayer. It certainly is. These would make good read-alouds, too. A lot of families are sometimes doing read-alouds these days, and together as a family, and this would be good for that.
So as you're writing the book, is there is there a specific Christian teaching or even theme that you really want the kids to leave with after they've read the book?
Yeah, my overarching hope, and I've just felt this from the very beginning, is that our young readers of today will see it is okay to be a Christian in today's world. It's possible to keep their Christian faith because there are so many voices that are telling them it's outdated, it's even oppressive, it's ludicrous. And not only is it okay to be a Christian, it is smart to be a Christian in today's world.
Love that.
And the better we get to know Him and know what God's truths are, the better we can cope with the curveballs that life is going to throw at us.
And so as you were writing these books and using history to tell the story or looking back on them, one of the things I noticed that you include in your book is fact or fiction. Tell us what that's about.
Yeah, well, because they are based in reality, based in true stories, but they are fiction, you get a little more freedom to carry out your plot if you have make it a fictitious story. But I wanted readers to know which is which. And so in the back of each book, I have a section called Fact or Fiction, what's true and what's not. And it's just some questions, is this real? Is this real? Is this real? And if it's not, I'll let you know about the real thing. And if it is, I'll let you know about that too. And then also some links and some further follow-up resources in case the reader wants to know more about that particular thing.
Well, I found that very interesting that was included, because these books just might find that person really interested in history, and you give it to them right there in the book how they can learn the in-depth details.
That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, good.
Because there are some cool stories and little-known stories, really, from the World War II home front. Rosie is more commonly known, but a lot of people don't even know we had POW camps in America during World War II.
Well, that was new to me. And so like I said, that's really great that you bring these things out in the books. And so we can be more aware of these different things in our history that have had, I'm sure, quite an impact on the people that we have in the United States today.
Yeah.
Okay,
that's
so give us some ideas on how parents or grandparents can use your books to encourage the children to read or to have a good family time.
Yeah, well, I mentioned the read alouds. That's one thing that some of readers are already expressing, that's been a good thing for them, these particular books. I think, a school or a homeschool situation could use this too, because it's going to augment whatever history you're studying, particularly the World War II time, but just finding out how people did problem solving and using it as a springboard to do some more, perhaps additional research into other things of interest in the academic world of what they're doing. So, and then just fun reading. Anytime we can encourage our kiddos to read, I think we're doing them a favor. And so that's been my hope, is that it'll be a fun story, intriguing story, but along the way you might find something valuable.
Excellent. Well, I've already looked towards the back of the book, so I know the answer to this question. Is there something coming up yet? Tell us a little bit more about what's coming next.
Yes, there will be a third book in this series. I can't give everything away. It's in the editorial stages right now. It should be out in January of 2026.
All right.
But I can give you the title. It's 10 Minutes of Home. The cover is just being created.
Yeah.
Okay, and it is also a little-known story of a small town in Nebraska that's kind of in the center of the country, and all the troop trains came through that one town. And so the ladies of the town and surrounding towns decided to meet every train, which was maybe 24, 25 a day, up to 3,000, 5,000 troops every day, and feed them and let them get off the train. They did let them get off the train. They would feed them very quickly and also give them some hope for what they were facing and not knowing what they were facing. And in 51 months, they impacted 6 million troops.
Wow.
And so it's kind of a story. That's the historical nugget there that inspired book 3.
Wonderful. Today I'm talking with Nell Branum about her books Keep 'em Flying and Friends in Strange Places from the Heroes on the Homefront Mysteries series. So before you leave us, Nell, tell our listeners how they can find these books.
Yeah, well, through my website, which is nellbranum.com. I'd love to hear from readers. They're available everywhere. Amazon, most places books are sold online, Barnes & Noble, Target, Walmart also. But on Moody's website, if you go to moodypublishers.com, you can read the first couple of chapters of each book. They have an excerpt there from both Keep 'em Flying and Friends in Strange Places. So
fantastic. So one more time, the books are Keep 'em Flying and Friends in Strange Places, published by Moody Publishers, and I've been talking with the author, Nell Branum, and I just really appreciate your time with us today. Nell, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I loved it.
And to our listeners, if you missed any part of today's interview or would like to hear it again, you can now find it on your favorite podcast platform or through kneo.org. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Roberta Foster on the Author's Corner. Join me again next time.